stopping by. All right, what is up for today? Well, I'm going to be focusing on a garage single that I have by the Bushmen. And this band was out of Cleveland, Ohio. That's not to be confused with the California Bushmen. And I had the record a long time, but I didn't really know too much about its history. And I recently, got on the internet and started doing some digging, and I found out some pretty cool stuff about this band and what they went on to accomplish. So I'm going to be sharing that today. Now, how this all started was I was watching Cosmic Brian's channel, and his most recent video, he shows this album. It's by Frantic, 1970 hard and heavy rock. The first track on side one is a song called Baby. Okay, that was the A-side of the Bushmen's only record in June of '65. And this is it right here. It's a white label promo on Dimension. And Dimension got some national distribution, even though it was a small label. And this was actually a pretty good sized hit in local areas of Texas in '66. The B-side is a song called What I Have, I'll Give to You. And it was written by Bill Lincoln. So keep his name in mind. Alright, I have a cheat sheet here because a lot of information to discuss, although I'm not going to get too deep here. I'm just going to focus on the key points of the band. I'll be showing some records to go with. So let's start off with the Bushmen's lineup. Featured David Potter on drums, Wesley Watt on guitar, Paul Armstrong, and Carl Johnson. Now keep in mind Potter and Watt. Now Bill Lincoln might have actually joined the band at the time the record came out because his song is on the B-side. Now, when they moved from Ohio to California, they started gigging up and down the Sunset Strip, making a name for themselves, and within 2 months they got the record deal. So about that same time, there was a filmmaker, and his interest was to produce a documentary style film on the happenings of the Sunset Strip at the time. So that came out as Teenage Rebellion, and it's also known as Mondo Tino. And there's a pretty good chunk of the movie on YouTube, about 15 minutes worth, I think. But from what I read, there's actually a clip in the film where it shows the Bushmen actually performing. So that would be pretty cool. Now, shortly after that, Watt and Lincoln decided they wanted to go in a different direction and start another band, and they named their band the War Babies and produced 145 on the Highland label. And then right after that came out, they did a name change, and they changed their name to The Word and released 145 on the Brent label. Following that record, they changed their name to Euphoria, and the band included Potter, Watts, Lincoln, and they added Pat Connolly on bass. Now Pat Connolly played, Pat Connolly played in the Safaris. He was the lead man and the bass player. Okay, Connolly left, and Watt brought in a couple of guys from Texas, and they were in a garage band called the Misfits. And they were James Harrell and Peter Black. Now those guys would eventually leave the band and go back to Texas, rejoin the Misfits, and And the Misfits became Lost and Found, and they released this one album on International Artists in 1968. They were both on this album. Okay, now, before the band splintered, they released a 45 on Mainstream. And both of those sides of that single are on this garage comp that Mainstream put out in 1967. Really, really good stuff. And the A side to the single was Hungry Women, which is sort of garage into psych with a little bit of Eastern vibe going on. Just a really excellent track. And the B side is Know Me Tomorrow, which is good as well. So the cool thing about it is, they're presented in really nice quality in true stereo on this compilation. So yeah, obviously if you had the 45, they would be in mono. Okay, so after Euphoria broke up for the first time, Potter and Watt joined Lee Michaels' band, and they appear on Carnival of Life, Michaels' debut album, which is just excellent. Now, according to David Potter's bio, he plays on this album, but he did not get drum credit on the back. But Leslie Watt did get credit for guitar. So Potter left the Lee Michaels band, and he joined Eastside Kids. They put out one album in 1968 on the Uni label. He does get drum credit on the back in the liner notes, and there's 2 songs written by Wesley Watt that he gave to the band because his friend was on drums. And the tracks are Heavy Love and Can't Feel Love. So very cool. Now shortly after that, David Potter left the band. He went to Texas and he joined a Texas band called Indel St Cloud. Now I don't have any of their records, but I have this Epitaph for a Legend, which is basically a rarities album of material by international artists, and really cool double album that came out in '80. And if you don't have this, you really do need it because it's full of rarities. Really cool stuff. Now they are not featured on this album, but they are shown on the back on their gravestone. All right. At that point, it looks like Potter got back with Watt and Lincoln, and they come up with this album for Capitol Records in 1969. And this is Wesley Watt, and this is Bill Lincoln right here. And I believe Potter does play on this. So that's a really good, excellent album, by the way. And so after that came out, they kind of you know, broke up again, I guess. And they did some side work starting in 1969. Watt and Lincoln co-produced and played on Bernie Schwartz's solo album, The Wheel, on the MGM label. Now I have seen that album in the bins, but I've never heard it. And he does a cover version of Sunshine Woman from that Euphoria album. Okay, so that was Watt and Lincoln that did that, and then Watt and Potter teamed up, and they play on Daniel Moore's 1971 album for ABC Records. And then Watt played lead guitar on Dory Previn's 1971 LP for Media Arts, and she was a female artist. So and then after that, you know, there's not much they did to speak of what I was able to find out. Of course, some of those guys have passed on now, but you know, life marches on. So yeah, I found that interesting enough to share it with you guys, and you know, I was surprised that, you know, I had that record for many years. The Bushmen record, I had that for a long time, but I never really knew all this history behind it. So it was cool to discover that. It's just amazing what you could find on the internet if you really dig in. So that's going to do it for today, everybody. I do have some records, and so maybe in a week or two I'll do a recent finds showing. I have some 45s and I have a few albums to show, so that'll be coming up. So everybody take care, and I shall see you guys in the future. Later.